Welcome and thanks for joining our Trend Micro Deep Security 20 update. Of course, this is our latest release of our server and cloud workload security solution from Trend Micro. And I also have with me Rick Abbott, who's on the product management side. So you can say hi there, Rick.
Hello, everyone. Rick Abbott, one of the product managers on the hybrid cloud security side of Trend.
Excellent. Yeah, so I'm just going to kick this off really briefly. Got a couple of slides to just kick it off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Rick, who's going to kind of give you the details and the guts of the Deep Security 20 release. So, many of you would be familiar with our deep security software. Obviously, that's what we're talking about today, and it's a great solution for protecting servers and workloads in the cloud. But you might not also realize that we have other software solutions in the deep security family that work with things like container technologies to scan for vulnerabilities with our container image security. It scans for vulnerabilities, malware, secrets and keys, and also compliance. And it scans in that development pipeline looking at those container images. We also have another software solution called Deep Security Smart Check for file storage security. And this is all about looking for cloud file and object storage services doing malware scanning. So things like Amazon S3 buckets that we support today, and looking to support also things like Azure blobs as well, which are the cloud file and object storage, as well as the Google Cloud File Storage services. But I also wanted to make you aware of the fact that we recently announced, and maybe you saw something about this, about our new cloud-native SaaS-based platform called Cloud One, Trend Micro Cloud One, that has an extensive set of cloud security tools. So you as either security team or IT team or people in your organization that are involved in building in the cloud have the right tools for the job. So I just wanted to expand one more slide on this about the Cloud One solution and kind of what we're doing there. So the first piece of this is the workload security. So there's 6 pieces of the Trend Micro Cloud One. First piece is the workload security. This is formally what we talked about as deep security as a service. And it's where Trend Micro has really gained our #1 position in the market with the security for the servers and virtualized environments in every major cloud provider. Second is the container security capabilities. And so this is image scanning of the build pipeline, so similar to the software that I just talked about earlier. It's being worked on right now and integrated, and so this allows us to work with Kubernetes services in the cloud and being able to scan that build pipeline and look for open source vulnerabilities through our Snyk integration and other vulnerabilities and malware in containers. The third piece is what we call application security, and this is used to embed security right into the applications and APIs for serverless. So think of like AWS Lambda and Fargate that are supported today, with Azure also coming later. So this allows us to work with, like I said, serverless, but also kind of legacy applications where you can embed the security, especially in places where an agent can't be installed or doesn't work well to install an agent into that environment like serverless. So that's called application security. The next piece is what we call file storage security, file scanning for the cloud storage services. I talked about that as a software offering that we offer as well. There's our conformity piece of Cloud One, which basically is about giving you assurance that your cloud infrastructure is configured securely and in compliance with best practices like the AWS well-architected framework or the CIS Azure they have a similar kind of well-architected framework, or also regulatory standards like NIST or PCI. And so conformity is available today as a standalone solution, and then we're also going to be integrating that into the Cloud One platform by the end of this year. But it's all a SaaS-based solution. And then last but certainly not least is our Cloud One Network Security, which allows you to secure an entire virtual private cloud. So it's network layer IPS based on our market-leading Tipping Point technology, the acquisition that we did a few years ago. It's available integrated with AWS today, and also we're working on that with Azure as well. And so the Cloud One platform, it is very much a platform that offers single sign-on as a SaaS-based common user and cloud account enrollment. So if you have cloud accounts set up within, for example, the workload security piece, then you can also leverage that common infrastructure across the other services. And common procurement and billing and support and documentation is very much an expandable platform. Who knows where we'll be in 6 or 12 months from now in terms of other cloud-based services that Trend will add to this Cloud One platform. So one more just quick reminder here for everyone. We hear a lot of customers asking us about detection and response capabilities. And for that, certainly with the Deep Security software solution today, you can send your detection information to a SIEM or a SOAR-based solution. But when your resources are limited, Trend Micro also offers our managed XDR solution, which can basically look not only at your server components and cloud workloads, but it can also work with other Trend Micro products to provide a cross-layered detection and response. So it's about kind of broadening that scope across endpoints and network and email. And so that managed detection and response can help you to get, the most out of our products. And it, Trend Micro threat experts help with 24/7 monitoring, IOC sweeping, threat hunting, and investigation and response. And then lastly, I just wanted to, remind you, I know, lots of people, sometimes their management will say, ask them things about, deep security. Is it still the leading solution in the market today, or something like that? And so we just wanted to remind you that, you've made a great choice. We continue to be the leader in the industry when it comes to server and cloud workload security, whether it's, the IDC report that looks at market share, which shows that we have the #1 market share in the world. In fact, we have 3 times the market share of anybody else in this space. So really the leader in this area. Forrester, which does an independent scoring looking at the totality of your offering and your future strategy. You can see there, again, it's probably a little bit small on your screen, but on the far right there, a little red circle up in that top right corner, and it circles, the Trend Micro dot there, showing that we're the furthest and highest to the upper right in that leadership position for our offering and strategy. And then, of course, the Gartner report, they looks at, server-specific and cloud workload protection platforms, and they, of the 7 recommendations that they make in that report, we meet all of those recommendations. So if you're interested in any of those reports, we have purchased the distribution rights to those, so you don't have to purchase them. You can just go to our Trend Micro Hybrid Cloud Security webpage and download them for free from Trend Micro. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rick to talk more about Deep Security 20.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. So let's get into the details of Deep Security 20. And really this is a summary of the things that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go into detail on each and every one of these, so I won't spend any time here. But this is for you to use after the call for, if you want to talk to your management and tell them what's coming and give them the kind of high-level overview. All right. So we had a couple of focuses for Deep Security 20. Improving the usability of the product was a key focus for us, and that includes a number of features. So we've added the Google Platform account, much like we have with AWS and Azure today. We now have the ability to see Google Cloud Platforms. And you can add the accounts, you can get the visibility of the workloads that are running in those accounts. We've also got the capabilities of being able to automatically assign policy based on instance labels or network tags. And we've added the smart folder capabilities as well. So essentially everything you can do with AWS, you can do with Azure, you can do with GCP today. In addition, for those of you that have been around deep security for a long time, we've had a journey with our APIs. Our current APIs that we're using, the REST 2.0, a lot of the new capabilities are there. Some of the older stuff is not. We've now upgraded or added the Google Cloud account, so you can use the new REST APIs for that. And we've migrated the AWS API from the old version to the new REST APIs as well. The Azure one is coming, but it's not going to be in Deep Security 20, and I'll talk about what we're doing as far as feature releases and capabilities near the end of this presentation. So this is a big issue that we've been working hard to resolve for our customers. We have a lot of customers that have mission critical systems. Having any sort of reboot is very painful. Often, you don't own the machines that the Deep Security agent is running on. Often you have to work closely with those teams to schedule reboots, et cetera. So we've now made it so that we don't actually have to reboot the agent anymore. And so this is on Windows platforms. It was never required on Linux platforms, but on Windows, we've completely removed the requirement to reboot. Now, this is with the new agent, so you may require a reboot to get there, but once you're on the Deep Security 20 agent, you should not require a reboot any longer. Another big thing that has come from our customers is around our eventing and alerting. And we're starting small. We realize we have quite a number of events and alerts in deep security. And so we started with kind of the high runners. And that was around anti-malware issues and events. So in a lot of cases, things could happen where, scans failed or scans were canceled for some reason. And all we would tell you was, anti-malware error. I'm sure you guys have seen this, or anti-malware offline. And so what we've tried to do is take each one of those cases and actually create a view that allows you to actually do something actionable with those events. So things like, hey, we noticed that there's an empty configuration, or the anti-malware module is actually off. And so this kind of thing, we're hoping, will give you a little bit of a better insight into what's happening in some of these cases and allow you to remediate. In addition to those events coming into the Deep Security Manager, they can also be pushed through SIEM and SNS, like all of the other events in Deep Security. So going back to the change control issue, we've had a lot of customers that do interesting things. And one of these key things is blessing a certain specific deep security agent. So because they have these mission critical systems, they'll spend a lot of time with one specific version. They'll install it on a subset of systems. They'll run it through a whole bunch of tests to make sure that it's not going to impact their environment. And then they bless that agent. And that's the agent that they want to install on every one of their systems. Now, in the past, our deployment scripts would pick up the latest version of the agent that you had installed in the Deep Security Manager. And so what we've done is we've now given you the abilities to say, I only want this version to be deployed when the deployment script is run. And you can see a screenshot here, excuse me, and it's spread out by platform. So you can specifically say for, Windows 2003, I want this agent. For Windows 10, I want this agent, et cetera, as well as for Linux. So this gives you a bit of control over what agents are actually deployed. In addition, and kind of related to that, is the automatic upgrade of agents. So another use case that we see quite a bit is customers using what we call golden images. So you have an image that actually has a deep security agent on it that you supply to your teams. And when they spin up this image, the deep security agent gets activated. Oftentimes in these golden images, there's some work to update them when new versions of the Deep Security the Deep Security agent are released. And so what we've done is we've actually allowed you now a way to say, when this machine comes online and when it gets activated, we want to actually be able to upgrade that agent right at activation time. And so with this, your images, your golden images now will get the new agent downloaded and do the upgrade and do it right when it's activated. So this is just a way to allow you to keep those images current and running the latest versions of the agent. And again, this is configurable. You can turn it on, you can turn it off, completely under your control. Another thing that we've been asked for from a number of customers is information around billing for internal teams, right? So we hear often that, yeah, I've got, X number of teams using the product. I don't know who's using what. And so we've decided to add in the security module usage report, if you're familiar with this, there's now a column for AWS account ID, the Azure Subscription ID, or the GCP Project ID. So this will be a way that you can look at this and you can relate that back to any teams within your organization and be able to do the charge back if that's how your organization works. All right. So improved usability of AWS accounts. So I don't know how many of you are using our AWS accounts, but essentially, if you pull in the AWS accounts, before we used to show you all of the subnets, all of the VPCs. Now we give you the ability to say, if there's anything that's empty, don't bother showing me. So that way it just cleans up your view, gives you a little bit better control over, over what you're seeing within the console. And it's really just about, the view and making sure that you're seeing what you want to see. So that was the usability enhancements. We've got some improved security and compatibility as well. For those of you using agentless, I don't know how many of you there are on this call, but the NSXT was released, a couple of years ago now. We've been integrating slowly but surely, working with VMware. Obviously, they've had many changes and many versions, and we've been trying to keep up. Deep Security 20 is going to be the first version to support NSXT 3.0. It's going to have the same capabilities as we used to have with NSXV, if you're familiar with that, which means that you'll get the AM and the IM, as well as the IPS, firewall, WRS for Windows and Linux workloads. A couple of new capabilities that come along with the NSXT integration. So it's the multiple vCenters. So this was something that VMware introduced probably 2 years ago now. And in Deep Security, up until Deep Security 20, it was a one-to-one mapping. So you had one vCenter, one NSX. And so we didn't handle this new multiple vCenter. We now do. So you can have multiple vCenters with a single NSX manager. we've also done some improvements on the time it takes to activate guests and for vMotion. So when instances are vMotioned, there used to be a very small gap in the protection when they were moved. And we've essentially eliminated that now. So the instances are protected as they're being moved as well. And in the same vein with the VMware integrations, we've expanded our compatibility with vCloud Director. This one has been interesting for us. For those of you familiar, there was a vCloud Director, I think it was 5.6 or 5.9. And then VMware decided to change the way that they were selling this. It became only available for MSPs. Regular folks couldn't use it. And then starting in vCloud Director 8, they brought it back to the general public and made it available to everyone. So now we've got with Deep Security 20, and you can see here backported, we support vCloud Director 9 and 10, and we will be working to support newer versions as they come out. Of course, we could never release a new release without supporting the latest versions of operating systems. So things like CentOS 8, Oracle 8, Cloud Linux 8, Debian 10, and Ubuntu 20 all were released in the past little while. So we're now supporting these. And you may see, for those of you on the older versions, in some of these cases, we are backporting depending on customer demand. So you may see these have already been available for Deep Security 12, for example. But in Deep Security 20, we're gonna support them all for sure. And we've also extended Secure Boot support for Red Hat 8, SUSE 12, Ubuntu, and SE Linux on Red Hat 7 and 8 is now officially supported. So this has been an issue that we've been dealing with for some time. Previously, customers had to run through a few hoops in order to get our agent installed when SE Linux was running. And now we've fixed that, and it's now officially supported. The improved platform support for Deep Security Manager. So of course, there were some new platforms released, Windows Server 2019 and Red Hat 8. In addition, SQL Server 2019 and Postgres 12. These will all be supported for Deep Security 20. So this one it's an internal note, but for those of you that are very familiar with AWS, they made a change to their instance data metadata service late last year. They started a version 2. Originally, we were on version 1, and of course, we had to move to version 2 for various reasons. But really, this is just to point out that we're continuing to work with AWS and to move forward. And in fact, we supported this very, very quickly after it was released. So, you can feel confident that we're moving forward with our AWS integrations and trying to stay on top of the things that they're bringing to the market as well. And then last but not least on the Deep Security 20 side of things, for those of you that have been following the Deep Security releases for some time, you probably remember in Deep Security 10, we started a stream of long-term support versions versus feature releases. We've decided that after conversations with many, many customers and with our field and with various teams, that this was actually kind of confusing to our customers. Do I use a feature release? When do I stay on an LTS release? Who do I talk to get this information? We've decided to actually remove the feature releases and have everything now be part of LTS updates. So some of you may be asking, well, you're talking about Deep Security 20, and I saved this to the last. Why is it Deep Security 20? Obviously, we're Deep Security 2020, and in North America, at least, we were supposed to be Deep Security 13. 13 is not such a lucky number in some cultures, so we decided to label that 20. But in addition now, we're hoping that with Deep Security 20, that we're going to start having regular maintenance updates that include new features and functionality. So the customers that, for example, were on LTS and we released the Google Cloud Connector to our Cloud One late last year, you had to wait until now to get the LTS version in order to get the Google Cloud Connector. And we wanted to prevent that. A lot of our customers were asking for this. They wanted it sooner. They need it for, to do their jobs. And so in Deep Security 20, we're getting rid of the feature releases. We are just going with the LTS version. The key difference now is that there will be some features added during updates. So, we still will be doing the monthly updates that you're used to. There just may be new capabilities. And of course, we'll be very upfront about what those are with our release notes and trying to give you information on what is coming. With that is the end of the Deep Security presentation. So I'd like to open it up now for questions. And I see there's a number here. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely got, lots of them that have come in. Thank you, folks, for contributing those questions. Rick, I'll start us off with a few. Maybe we can spend 5 minutes. I think we kind of promised to keep this webinar to 40 minutes or so today. So let's try to get through as many of them as we can. So there's a question of what version of the agent incorporates this feature. Oh, I think that was in reference to the reboot.
The reboot? Yeah. Yeah, so that would be the Deep Security 20 agent. So the latest version that will be released. And I actually didn't mention, we are in the last phases of regression of Deep Security 20 now. So it is expected to come sometime in the next few weeks. We've got to do our final regressions and our final, GA announcements and all of those good things to bless it before we release it. But the hope is that it will be released and live in our download center within the next few weeks. So keep an eye out there.
Yeah, good one, Rick. That was the next question on the list.
I can read minds.
Yeah. Someone was asking about, we've talked about the reboot requirement in the past. What makes this different? I think this was kind of a complete kind of rebuild of how that works, right?
Yeah, actually, there are two pieces to this, right? So for those of you that have a deep knowledge of deep security and have been around for a long time, we used to have an issue. It wasn't so much a reboot required necessarily, but it was a blip in the network traffic when the IPS engine was bound to the network interface. So this was something that was causing a problem for some of our customers who had high performance machines where this network blip was actually causing problems with traffic timing out and then causing back-end services to fail and various things. That we fixed, if I remember correctly, it was 10.2 or 10.3. So it would have been, in the 11.0 LTS version. We also managed to fix temporarily some of the reboot required issues. In this case, we spent a lot more time trying to understand what the fundamental problem was. And ultimately, it boils down to the way we work and the way Microsoft works, right? So we had to work with Microsoft and try to figure out what the best way to handle this was. And we believe through all our testing that we have solved this problem for the majority of use cases. I will never say never, but I'm crossing my fingers. You can't see that, but I'm crossing my fingers that we have solved this once and for all.
Great. Thanks, Rick. Another question, what are the migration paths with older versions? So I think they're wondering, what version of Deep Security is compatible to upgrade to 20?
Yep. So this is the same as we've always stated. It's always 2 versions back. So in this case, it will be Deep Security 11 and Deep Security 12 should be able to do a direct upgrade. If you're still on Deep Security 10, it would be recommended to go to 12 first and then upgrade. And of course, you can upgrade the manager before you upgrade any of the agents. So that's all. In fact, it's recommended to upgrade the manager first, but you can actually go from Deep Security 10 to 12 in the manager without upgrading the agents right away. And that should make the transition a little bit easier for you.
Okay. There's a question about what the difference is, because probably because I brought up Cloud One at the beginning, and then you mentioned what's the difference between Deep Security and Cloud One. So here I can explain this one quick. So Deep Security is our Trend Micro software solution, for securing and protecting servers and cloud workloads, and even it works with containers too. But it's a software solution. It can be installed really anywhere, right? It can be in your on-premise data center, in a private cloud, in a public cloud. So it's software that you install and you manage, while Cloud One is our SaaS-based platform. And it not only does the server and work, so it's a SaaS that we manage, infrastructure piece of it, and all you do is kind of set up the policies and stuff in the UI. But it's a SaaS-based offering, and it has the workload security piece, which is servers and virtual machines, same as the software, and that's called Cloud One Workload Security. But there's also other services that Cloud One does that I talked about earlier, like the application security for serverless and container security and network security, that are all kind of cloud-based services that people are using when they're using the public cloud today. So that's the main difference. Is one software that you install and manage. The other one is a SaaS-based platform that Trend Micro provides and does all the infrastructure management, and you just manage the policies for your servers and your VMs. But otherwise, the functionality is very similar. Let me see other questions here. Rick, feel free to grab one there too. They're coming in fast.
I see that there's a bunch of them here. So let me just start at the bottom, and I'll work up. Are there any improvements for Citrix virtualization? So not specifically. So with Citrix, our integration is essentially agent-based, right? And we don't really have the same kind of integration that we have with VMware. At this point, there is no plan to do such a thing. So it'll still be agent-based. You'll see the computers in Deep Security Manager the same way as you would a physical computer, for example, and that's the way it will be for the foreseeable future. Will there be anti-ransomware for NSX on the roadmap? So that's a great question. The short answer is maybe. The longer answer is we're working with VMware. Unfortunately, their APIs don't allow us to do that. So we can't actually do it because there's no capability there. So we're still talking with VMware. We've given them a list of things that we would like to see. We're hoping that they will, take this into account and create the APIs to allow us to do that. But honestly, that's on their time, and so I have no visibility into if or when that may happen.
Yeah, and of course that's agentless.
That's right.
The anti-ransomware can be done with the agent, but just not the agentless capability with the NSX.
Yep. So is the parent clone issue resolved with this version? I need to follow up with the team, so let me get back to you on that one. I actually don't know the answer to that one. Will there be the ability to start an anti-malware scan for a single file via the REST API or CLI? So unfortunately, the answer to that is no. We do know that this comes up quite often. It is something that we are discussing, but I don't have an actual ETA or a plan on that yet. But if you wanted to reach out to me directly, and for those on the call, it's rick_abbott@trendmicro.com. And I can follow up with the team and try to see if we can get a sufficient answer for that one. When will it be released? Soon. I don't have an exact date. We're going through our final regressions, which includes a bunch of longevity and various things to make sure the quality is there. So hopefully, within the next few weeks, keep an eye out on the Download Center page, and we'll be posting it there as soon as it's available. So IBM with Power processors, not currently in the plan. Again, this is another one that, we're continuing to monitor. In order for us to make an investment, there has to obviously be an ROI, and we make our decisions based on customer requests. So for this one, reach out to your sales team and let them know that this is something that you're interested in, and we'll do our best to keep you posted as to what's going on there. Any reason why the chargeback model is not available for Cloud One workload security? That's a great question that I don't know the answer to, Derek. So let me get back to you on that one. For DS20 supporting vSphere 6 and 6.5, it's 7 only, if I remember correctly. Let me take that one as well, and get back to you on that. Just, I want to be very clear, so I will follow up with you on that. The direction of supporting Alibaba. So that's an interesting one. Obviously, because of the Alibaba being so large in Asia. It is definitely something we're paying attention to. I can say right now that it's not something that we're working on currently, but is definitely something that's high on our list of things to consider. So I would suggest, just keep an eye out and keep pressing us, and we can give you updates on that. We are using Deep Security only for integrity monitoring. If we upgrade the agents, will the feature reflect as advertised? Yeah, so there should be no change to integrity monitoring. If you do an upgrade, you should be fine. For the SLES 15, we have to sign all DSA modules because the secure boot is a problem. I believe that is resolved, but I will take that one offline and confirm as well. I believe that what we did was we actually signed it, so that should solve that problem for you, but I'll make sure. Answered the question about on-demand scanning. Multi-tenancy for SaaS. So the Deep Security on-premise, you will be able to enable multi-tenancy, and you'll be able to turn that on. SaaS and doing that in Cloud One workload security is a future thing for us. This year is focused on getting our 6 services complete and actually running and having everything all there so that our customers can use it. Then we'll be looking at things like, having different regions for the SaaS, so we can get rid of the, GDPR and the various regional requirements to have SaaS running in various regions. Multi-tenancy is also another one that is on our list of things to do. As far as multi-tenant improvements for Deep Security 20, there's nothing. It'll work exactly the same. We haven't done anything specifically for multi-tenancy in Deep Security 20. Windows 2008 R2 is still supported, yes, and it is supported until the foreseeable future. We actually made a statement a couple of years ago where we're going to try to support our customers on these older systems as long as possible. So Windows 2000, Windows 2003, Windows 2008, we still support all of them. Now, there's always the caveat that a customer runs into a problem that we cannot fix. And in that case, we'll work with you. We'll try to figure out how we can, how we can move forward here. That's a risk, but the idea is if these systems, typically because they're old, they're running workloads that are not changing all that often. There's no more Windows updates for them. So we will continue to work and continue to protect them. Current version is 12.0. And yes, you can directly upgrade from 11 to 20. And then do the API improvements include pushing agent upgrades, initiating baseline scans? Great question. For the first one, I don't believe we have an API for that. The second one, I need to check with the team. I actually don't know the answer to that. So let me take that one and get back to you. Yes, you can upgrade from 12 to 20. And then I want to be able to scan a USB drive and show it in a log. So that is currently a capability that we're looking at. No ETA on that yet. And I think, Amanda, I think you left the ones unanswered that I said I would get back to. So I'm hoping you can fire those off to me, and I'll follow up with the teams, and I'll reach out to the folks whose questions I did not answer, and try to get back to you with the information.
Wonderful. Thanks very much again, Rick, and thank you everyone for joining. As a reminder, we will be sending out a link to the recording and the slides so you can have those afterwards. We thank everyone very much for joining, and Rick, as you mentioned, he'll be following up on any of the questions that he wasn't able to answer live. Thanks again. Take care.